I saw my first Christmas shopping commercial here recently. What? And I don't do Christmas shopping. I just don't, It's got nothing to do with religious beliefs or any of that stuff. It's just that I don't have the tolerance to go through that. A lot of people enjoy it, I mean, my wife and I, when we first met, it's one of the things I said, okay, you got to know something. I don't do Christmas shopping. I'm that guy that goes out on Christmas Eve and buys everything for everybody at the 7-Eleven. Actually, I'm not that bad. I have bought gifts, but anybody that's been fortunate enough to get a gift from me knows that I do practical gifts. I mean, they're boring, but practical, towels. That's a big one on my list. Everybody needs towels, right? I've given fire extinguishers. One year I gave everybody fire extinguishers. And you wouldn't believe the reactions. Well, what kind of Christmas gift is this? A fire extinguisher? I said, well, guess what? And then, about a year later, someone sends me an email and says, hey, we had a kitchen fire and we reached for that fire extinguisher you gave us, and man, I just want to say thank you. And that made it worth all the, well, what's up with this? Fire extinguisher? What are you, nuts? I've actually given away those, I don't know if you've seen these aerosol cans that have a scrubber on the end, and they're designed to remove spots from rugs. Oh, that's a wonderful Christmas gift, Especially if someone has dogs. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is I do all my Christmas shopping at City Mill. Now, they're a sponsor for my television show, and I'm not pimping them out for that reason. I used to go there before they were my sponsor. In fact, that's why I went after them as a sponsor, because, in fact, here they are right here. I love City Mill. I love that kind of stuff. Even like right next door, there's a parts store here. What is it, O'Reilly's? I can just cruise around in there and window shop, If you're the kind of person who likes to make stuff, or hey, I got an idea. I wonder if I could, like the super selfie thing I did. Without places like City Mill, that kind of stuff is impossible. And it's weird, when you're trying to invent something and you're looking around, and the salespeople would say, oh, can I help you find something? No, I think I'm all right. Well, what are you looking for? And it always weirds them out when you say, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? Well, I'm trying to design something and I need something, but I don't exactly know what it is, and I'm hoping something will jump off the shelf at me. It has to be kind of a clamp, but it also needs to have a container, and you try to explain it. Well, okay. I like that kind of stuff, I remember when I was building computers, I would go to these small stores. Personal Touch was one of my favorites. In fact, Jeff got to be a pretty good friend of mine over the years. And he had a great store and he was doing well. And he and a bunch of these really geeky guys used to have these computer stores. And then I think CompUSA or somebody big came in and put them all out of business, right? And then they go out of business after they've destroyed all these small little stores, where people really cared, right? Where they had a passion for building cool boxes and doing this stuff. And then they all got replaced by a bunch of guys in red shirts going, and what are you trying to do with this? That was their favorite question. They had this upsell thing going that drove me nuts. You know, you'd go into a CompUSA or any one of those big stores, right? Best Buy isn't as bad, but I think there's some corporate mandate that they upsell everybody. So if you go in there and say, do you have a USB 3 cable, you know, and what would be the application? You know, because they want to, well, and maybe you need and I get it, right? They're in business and they have high rent and all that stuff, but do you have a USB 3 cable? What would the application be? I'm going to bake a cake. What else would you do with a USB 3 cable? My wife hates when I do that. Oops.